Hi folks, this is Randy Rice. I am recording this random video today just based on a recent experience I've had with ChatGPT. Now, if you followed any of my content on my Value of Testing podcast, you know that I'm not anti-AI. I'm a tester, okay? So I'm skeptical of a lot of the things that I get back from AI. I don't automatically assume that they're correct. But I just recently, in fact, an hour ago, I had this experience with ChatGPT. And it kind of blew my mind, actually, because, sometimes we wonder, does AI, does it have feelings? Can it, have a sense of humor? Can it empathize? Those kind of things. Well, I think I just experienced a humorous moment with ChatGPT, and I wanted to share it. So, anyway, I noticed that on our dishwasher, there's this blue status light that flashes down on the floor when it's running. It's a solid blue when it's running, and when it stops, it turns white. And you let it sit there for like an hour, and then you can pull the dishes out and put them in the cabinets and stuff. Well, I started noticing today that this blue light just kept flashing. So I started to try to clear it some way, and the control panel was blank. I mean, not a light on it anywhere. So I went underneath the counter, the cabinets there, underneath the sink, and I unplugged it for a few seconds, plugged it back in again. No difference. Usually that will clear out just about anything. So I go to trusty ChatGPT, and it tells me all kinds of things. It asked me about the model, of course, and I actually put in a pretty long prompt describing what all was going on there. One of the things that it said was to turn the breaker off for 10 minutes. And in fact, if you see here, I said, okay, I'm going to try the breaker off for 10 minutes first. And it tells me that's exactly what I would try next. When you do it, turn the dishwasher breaker completely off. Leave it off for at least 10 minutes. 15 wouldn't hurt. I left it off for 15 minutes. Turn it back on, and then wait a minute before touching anything. And then check if it's dark, if it has this flashing pattern like it had before. Do you hear anything running, that kind of thing. And then it wants to know what happens after all that happens. So I turned the breaker off 15 minutes, I turned it back on, everything come back to life. And it was kind of stunning to me that the breaker made the difference. And so I had to reply back to ChatGPT. I wanted to give it kudos where it's due, so I said, okay, you're a genius. The breaker reset worked. And it said, that's great news, and honestly, that's a much better outcome than replacing a control board. What probably happened is that the dishwasher's electronics got into a locked or corrupted state. And it went on to explain about firmware and all that, and how it can be due to power fluctuations or brief outages or brownouts or all different kind of things. And then it mentions about the capacitor on the boards will hold electricity. And of course, I knew that because I used to be an electronics guy. I worked at a radio station, worked on transmitters, did all kinds of things. And the number one lesson you learn there is never touch a capacitor, okay? Because they do store electricity. And so you have to give them time to discharge. So I thought that was a really good catch. And it says if it ever happens again, the first thing to try. Turn it off, wait 10, 15 minutes, and restore power. You may have just saved yourself a service call and several $100s in parts and labor. And thank you for the compliment, but in this case, the dishwasher gets some credit for eventually cooperating. And I said thanks, and it talks about maybe a reset of a control board and gave me some additional info. And it says, now go and enjoy the satisfaction of having fixed it yourself and having saved what could have been a $150 to $300 service call. If anything else around the house, office, website, training, business, or even other stubborn appliance starts acting up, feel free to ask. Good luck with the dishwasher. So I decided to kind of play around with it a little bit, and I said, does that mean I can go out to dinner? And chat tells me, absolutely. In fact, I think you've earned dinner by successfully applying one of the oldest troubleshooting principles. Before replacing parts, try turning it off and back on again, which, if any of you are familiar with the IT Crowd on TV, it was a series, you'll appreciate that. Today, that principle saved your dishwasher. Then it says, don't spend the entire amount you saved on the service call. By my calculation, you're entitled to one nice dinner, an appetizer if the dishwasher completes a full cycle, dessert if your wife acknowledges that you fixed it yourself, 2 little check marks there. Now, if the dishwasher is still working tomorrow, you can officially add, and this is what got me, add appliance repair technician to your already impressive resume of software tester, consultant, trainer, author, podcaster, and ISTQB instructor, and said, enjoy dinner, and maybe let the dishwasher set this one out tonight. I responded back, you are too funny. And it came back to me again. Of course, it'll just keep responding, right? But it says, well, after years of helping people debug software, I've learned that appliances and software have a lot in common. Symptom, everything is broken. Diagnosis, panic. Actual fix, turn it off, wait, turn it back on. The difference is that when a dishwasher locks up, nobody files a defect report or schedules a root cause analysis meeting, which is very true. Although now that I think about it, you could have written one. Now this is where it kind of starts to get funny. Title, Dishwasher UI non-responsive after unknown event. Severity, critical, threatens dinner schedule. Priority, high, spouse affected. Workaround, cycle breaker for 10 minutes. Status, closed, cannot reproduce. Now that one I kind of have to argue with because it was closed and we could reproduce it to some degree. But anyway, I'm glad it worked out. And yes, I fully support your decision to celebrate with dinner out. You successfully completed user acceptance testing of the dishwasher repair. And the funny thing about that is that, it tied back together, my previous chats and things that I had with it to kind of blend this into this funny personalized thing. And I just said, LOL. Glad you got a laugh out of that. This whole thing actually sounded like a software defect. Blue light flashes repeatedly. System appears non-responsive. Expected behavior, dishwasher washes dishes. Root cause, unknown transient firmware condition. Corrective action, power cycle. Lesson learned, never underestimate the value of a reboot. And then it says, as a software testing guy, you probably appreciated that the first attempt failed, unplugging, and the second attempt succeeded, breaker off for 10 minutes. That's classic troubleshooting. Same idea, different test conditions. Enjoy your dinner out, Randy, and if the dishwasher acts up again, you'll have some useful data. If it never happens again, likely a one-time glitch. If it starts happening every few weeks, control board may be aging. If it happens tomorrow, the dishwasher has entered the intermittent defect phase that testers know and love. Have a great evening. So, in that little exchange there with ChatGPT, I have to admit, it saved me a service call. I did have an extended warranty, but it saved the call anyway, saved the downtime, and now I can say that AI can help fix your appliances. Of course, it can't do the unplugging. It can't reset the breaker, but it can give you directions that it would probably take you, or it would have taken me a long time earlier. Basically, with web searches and trying to find the appliance website and all that. So I have to give kudos to ChatGPT on this one. And I just thought, funny story from a tester guy trying to fix his dishwasher. Well, thanks for watching this. Talk to you later.